Geek Insider presents Geeky, Cheeky, and Downright Freaky with Matthew Harris. He's taking a closer look at some of the wonderfully weird, gloriously geeky, and freaky things in our world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geeky, Cheeky, and Downright Freaky, brought to you by GeekInsider.com. And folks, this is a special show. Usually I don't run on Sundays, but it is Nelson Mandela's birthday today. And so I wanted to do a show about the Mandela effect. I've actually had a multi-part series planned for quite some time now. I've written quite a bit about what is the Mandela effect. And so I wanted to share it on a podcast, on the show. And so that's what we're going to cover tonight. And before we get started, I had a couple of people asking me about the artwork behind me, especially this one right here. That was painted by my wife. That is Smog, of course. And then what you can barely see here, because he's so tiny compared, is Baby Yoda. And Baby Yoda has his coffee cup or his suit, and he's just holding up his hand and saying, "Screw you, Smog, I'm better than you." And then this one right here, that one was also painted by my wife after Joker, the movie, came out. I loved it so much, and she painted that for me right after it came out. So that's what that artwork is. And this one right here is from Joe HERTLER and the Rainbow Seekers, a band that I really love. You'll hear one of their songs at the end of the show. But anyway, so on to the show. What we're going to discuss now, it's Nelson Mandela's birthday. I'm not going to get into the type of man he was, or this show isn't about, his political history or his time in prison. It kind of is about his time in prison. But we're going to discuss a few of the Mandela effects, just some of the more popular ones, just as we go along. But the main reason for the show tonight and this multi-part series is to discuss what is the Mandela effect and what could be the causes, aside from false memory, which we'll even get into that. But we are definitely going to discuss some of the more popular theories on what could be causing the Mandela effect. And I see we got a couple of comments already. Hey, Sarge, nice to see you. Long time no see. And we got Da Ninja. Good evening, Da Ninja. And, well, folks, if you're listening on the podcast, that's one thing that I always say. You'll get a little bit more if you tune in on the YouTube. This time around, you're okay on the podcast because I'm not going to have a whole bunch of images and stuff like I normally do. This is just going to be a talk show tonight. And so I wanted to discuss, anyway, some of the more popular theories of what could be causing the Mandela effect. And just one second, let me get the fact is, there's no quick answer to that question. And a lot of people are asking this question. You go out on some of the subreddits and everything, there's discussion all the time, and people freaking out because they fell down this rabbit hole and they want to know what it is, what's causing this Mandela effect. And I don't have the answer. Don't expect that by the end of this series we're going to all be, completely knowledgeable on what is causing it. But I want to discuss, like I said, some of the more popular aspects of this. And while Wikipedia, God bless them, they give what it deems as the quote unquote definitive answer. And they say it's memory issues. They blow it off all as false memory. That's like the first sentence. It's false memory. And I've spent several years actually studying the phenomenon, and I've just found that there's much more to it than simply brushing it off as memory issues. Yes, I'm personally, quote, affected. There's a lot of them that I'm just going, you're full of shit. It was this way, that way, or the other, instead of what it is now. And luckily for me, because I've seen flip-flops, I do have witnesses on several of those flip-flops. My wife, my daughter, one of my daughters. But this isn't going to be a short and sweet show. I don't know how long we're going to go tonight, everybody. And if you're tuned in on the podcast, welcome back. I know it's been a while since this show has been on the podcast, but I appreciate y'all going and listening to the older shows and watching them on YouTube. Circling back around to what I was saying a minute ago, if you really want the full impact of this show, follow us on YouTube, GeekInsider, as well as Facebook, and you can follow me, which all that information is in the show description on YouTube. And to be honest up front, like I said a minute ago, I have no idea what causes the Mandela effect, folks. I really don't. I just know that it's an unknown. No matter what Wiki says or hardline skeptics say, it is indeed real. But the answer is unknown on what the cause is. And anytime that there's something that we can't explain, humans brush it off as, well, we used to brush it off as magic, and now, of course, we know it's science. And things that we thought were impossible years ago are now, scientific fact. They used to think that nothing could live in the furthest depths of the ocean, and we know that's not true now. And so I really think personally that we're going to find out that the Mandela effect at some point, it may take death before we reveal the answer, but I think that the Mandela effect is just beyond our reach of understanding. But, and that's the thing, is it's the cause that's up for debate. Now, there are numerous blogs, videos, websites, and mainstream articles out there regarding this topic of what is the Mandela effect. So why do another one? Well, it's because most of those suck, just to put it plainly. Now, not all of them, of course, just a good chunk of them. And they, the misinformation is a hot keyword right now, but they misinform the public, and they try to make people think that they're crazy and that they're just misremembering when they have what I call anchor memories to some of these things, where you have a very strong emotional attachment to something. And when that happens, sorry folks, I'm hot. When that happens, when there's an emotional attachment or an anchor memory, then that's when I call bullshit on that it's just a memory, false memory. And so the idea of this investigation is to lay it all out there, defining the Mandela effect in a multi-part series that takes a deeper look at the phenomena, review some of the examples, and explore the popular theories behind the cause. If you are new to the Mandela effect, if you went on YouTube today and you just looked it up because it's Nelson Mandela's birthday and you saw it trending on Twitter, this can be disconcerting and rather downright disturbing at times, not to mention leading to long hours or even years, like myself, digging through articles on like GeekInsider and other resources looking for more examples. I do have quite a few examples on GeekInsider.com because, as I said, I've been deep into this phenomenon for years. And of course, we all want answers. That's the big thing that all of us want, is answers on what's causing this. What is it? Is there some deeper meaning to it? Which unfortunately there just aren't any answers at this point. However, there are plenty of theories, as you're going to see throughout this series, let's call it. So stick with me here, learn what you can, and it's probably a lot that you're going to regret about the Mandela effect, but we're going to, like I said, we're going to get into the history and a lot more. I don't know how long the show is going to go tonight because I've just got this broken down into an article, basically. It'll end up on GeekInsider.com, but I just want to go through it. And so let's see here. Well, the next installments are going to be deeper into the investigation of the theories behind the effect. I would be doing a disservice, and I'd be remiss if I didn't include a quick overview of what it is. Okay, and so bear with me, folks. Those of you that are totally familiar with the Mandela effect, and I want to explain it for those that haven't, because I want this to be a kind of a definitive look at what is the Mandela effect, at least in my eyes, or what could be causing it, rather. And so for you newbies, chances are you came across the term Mandela effect while searching for something odd that caught your attention. This could be something seemingly rather mundane as Jiffy brand peanut butter, or Stouffer's stovetop stuffing never existing. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Stouffer's never made stovetop stuffing. Or it could be one of the big ones, like the Berenstain Bears has always been the Berenstain Bears. That's a huge one. That's one that initiates a lot of people to the Mandela effect. Or perhaps you're like me, and there's a celebrity that you specifically remember having passed away, yet they're inexplicably alive or suddenly died again, which there's a lot of that going around. Personally, it was freaking Huey, or Louis Anderson, not Huey, Louis Anderson. I had heard the term Mandela effect, but I was watching TV. I saw a commercial with Louis Anderson, and he was promoting something that was a little older. And so I thought, wow, his estate must have allowed his likeness to be used, because I knew Louis Anderson as having died several years before, and that he was part of the quote unquote Family Feud curse. And so didn't think nothing of it at that point. But then I saw a trailer for Baskets. And that was a new show, second season coming on. Louis Anderson was in it. I go to my computer and I look up Louis Anderson death, and it led to the Mandela effect. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole. But the term itself comes from the man whose birthday it is today. It was a happenstance between Fiona Broome, which you can find, I forget her website name, it may be MandelaEffect.com for all I know. Excuse me, but she was at a convention. She met a group of people. They were talking. I don't know how the conversation got around to it, but they all remembered history a little bit differently when it came to Nelson Mandela. Like myself, they remembered that Nelson Mandela died in prison, only to, they were shocked when he was released on February 11th, 1990, or at some point later after he became president of South Africa. I suffer from this. I specifically remember seeing Mandela's funeral. That's how I found out about his name. I can remember the exact spot I was in my father's house, watching the TV. And so I suffer from the original. And happy birthday to Nelson Mandela. I know he went on, to do a lot of great things. And some people think, well, if he died in prison, then how do you explain that he went on to become president? And I can't. He was dead. He came back alive. He was the first zombie that I know of. And like I said, at that convention, many of them had the same kind of specific memories of seeing his funeral on television. Some people will even tell you that who attended as far as dignitaries and what colors were on display there. I just remember a helicopter view of the procession of the cars, and them saying Nelson Mandela had died in prison. And let me see here. Let me scroll down. But besides Nelson Mandela and him being the namesake of the event, or the condition, or whatever you want to call it, there's a virtual ton of examples of the Mandela effect. But if you just want to boil it down to brass taxes, a Mandela effect happens when a large group of people remember an event or a fact differently than what current historical evidence and data shows. So, and like I said, when you go to look it up on the internet, you go to Google and you type in what is the Mandela effect, the first good chunk of results, it'll tell you that it's misremembering, it's false memory. And I just don't believe it. And that's what this whole show is about. And folks, if you happen to pop in, Meredith, yeah, it has been a long time no see, you stranger. I see you're not in the back room helping me out. Oh my God, one of my daughters showed up, Casey. And folks, if y'all are trying to chat from anywhere, just be warned as I go through tonight's show, I'm doing a lot of reading through my notes, and so I won't always see who is talking. But I do appreciate y'all showing up tonight in the live chat room. And once again, if you're only tuning in on the podcast, which is broadcast later, several days later, and you want to tune into the live show, just go to YouTube, look up Geek Insider, and we're the first one. And then you'll see, if you scroll down, there's the GCDF, which is the Geeky, Cheeky, and Downright Freaky. So first thing, though, I do want to give a few examples. Like I said, I want to cover newbies too, folks. So if you are very familiar with the Mandela effect, just bear with me. One of my favorites is that Forrest Gump never says life is like a box of chocolates. In fact, that exact quote is nowhere in the movie. You might see it on the box for the VHS or the DVD. Life, in quotes, life is like a box of chocolates. It's never, ever said in that movie now. In fact, he says life was like at that point. And earlier in the movie, Mama says life's like a box of chocolates. Now, that's another Mandela effect. My wife and I have seen that one flip several times, from life is like a box of chocolate to, or no, excuse me, life. Anyway, I forget now what it's flipped. I got some notes somewhere. But anyway, the quote appeared, like I said, it appears on the cover on the book release, and it's life is like. But why do so many people firmly remember it being said that way in the movie? Now, if you go to YouTube, you will find a cut of Tom Hanks and that African-American actress sitting on the bus stop. And he says, life is like a box of chocolates. Mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. That is a cut, but it ended up on the cutting room floor. It's not in the movie. So it doesn't make sense why so many people firmly remember that Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates. Now, to be fair, could it be just because it is on the box and everything that we misconstrued it? We just put it in the movie ourselves, kind of speaking, but I don't think so. And my daughter brings up the Alice in Wonderland quote, which is the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter never says we're all mad here. He says most everyone is mad here. That one blows me away. Good call, Casey. Yeah, that one is wrong, as well as the Snow White. The evil queen never said mirror, mirror on the wall. She says magic mirror on the wall. And it goes, then you also got Darth Vader never said, Luke, I am your father. No matter what you remember, he says, no, I am your father. And of course, it goes much deeper than just quote unquote misquotes. I do get it that we could misquote movies and people passing it down. I mean, there's even a case of Tommy Boy or one of them where he's talking into the fan and he says, Luke, I am your father. And so people try to attribute it to that. Oh, y'all are just remembering that. Well, I've seen Star Wars a lot of times and I would have quoted as Luke. But numerous people, including another one of my daughters that is not here, remember a movie called Shazam that starred the comedian Sinbad as a genie. This was kind of a sequel to Kazam with Shaq. my middle daughter, no, youngest daughter, remembers, she worked at a video store. She remembers a cardboard cutout that advertised it. And she remembers it playing in the store while she was there, which is awful funny because it never, ever existed. The movie Shazam, Shazam, not to be confused with the Shazam that just came out. It never existed, never came out. You look in Sinbad's history and you'll find that it is not, or nor has it ever been, a movie he was in. Now, be warned, you will find a commercial that shows a couple of different things like Fruit Loops and I forget what else, but it in between the commercial, it's showing like it's a trailer for Shazam with Sinbad. That is a fake. They made that as an April Fool's joke several years ago. I forget who it was, because Sinbad is in on the joke. But again, my daughter brings up another one about the Fruit Loops. This is one that freaked me out. I saw it change twice. Fruit Loops. I always knew it as FROOT. My late wife went by Fruit Loops, FROOTLOOP, on several chat rooms back in the day. And then one day, about 4 years ago, all of a sudden it was Fruit, FRUIT. And that floored me. I freaked out. It freaked my current wife out, that I was freaking out so bad. And then inexplicably, a couple of days later, it was back to FROOT. So I saw that's one of my flip-flops that I've seen. And that one was earth-shattering for me. That one was the one that really threw me into this, as there's something more going on than misremembering. And speaking of fruit, here's another one that blew my mind, is that the Fruit of the Loom logo, you know, with the fruit pictured in your head. What all is in that Fruit of the Loom logo? I wore tidy whities my entire freaking childhood, and I remember the logo well. It had a cornucopia, and all the fruit was spilling out of it. There's never, ever been a cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom. It's just fruit. Another example, and this one I did an in-depth investigation on GeekInsider.com. If you go there, upper right-hand corner, click the magnifying glass and just type in Ed McMahon, you will find the article. It's a 2-part investigation because I spent months, probably, right at a year, a little over a year, investigating this one. And you'll see that I dug deep, and that is that Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. Now, no matter what you remember of him working for Publishers Clearinghouse and showing up at winners' doors with big oversized check with a prize patrol, you're completely effing wrong. He not only didn't work for Publishers Clearinghouse, he never showed up at anybody's house with an oversized check. And he did work for a competitor, American Family Publishers, AFP, I think is what it is. But again, he never went to winners' houses with an oversized check. Publishers Clearinghouse never ever did that until recently. They took over the prize patrol and are showing up at winners' houses with a celebrity. But Ed McMahon never did. And in that investigation on GeekInsider.com, you'll see that there are even examples where Ed flubs it up. And people that are close to Ed flub it up and say that he works for for Publishers Clearinghouse. But it never happened. I specifically remember Ed's big, fat, freaking head on those envelopes from Publishers Clearinghouse. But it's all different now. And next, Thanksgiving. What do you remember? What day of the month or when is Thanksgiving? If you're like me, you just said the third Thursday of the month. That's what I remember. I remember setting vacation time and knowing the third Thursday of November. Well, we're all wrong because it has always been on the fourth Thursday of November. and which I wouldn't have thunk that there could be 4 Thursdays in November every year, but apparently it is, because that's when Thanksgiving is. Now, we got a few more examples that I want to go over, folks, but I want to take a couple of minutes to pay a few bills. So bear with me. Stay tuned. Just 1 second while I find the right commercials. Uh-oh. Son of a gun. I don't have the videos loaded that I wanted. So let me take a second to pull this up, and that is not what I wanted. I want this, because we have a couple of new sponsors. You know about mobileedge.com and the discount we have there. Well, we're going to have a directory in the next couple of days, hint, hint, Rhett, hint, hint, because we have several other new partners where you're going to get discounts at their sites just for using this our exclusive Geek Insiders codes. And one of our newest partners is Under Lucky Stars. Now, it's kind of funny that they're partners with us because, 2 years ago, I actually used their service. And it was funny when they came to us and were seeking a partnership. I was just laughing because I had already used their services, and I liked it. And what it is, folks, is they create beautiful star maps which show the unique alignment of the stars from wherever you are at a certain time chosen by you, whether it's a birthday, engagement, wedding, a first kiss. Mine was a first date at a specific location, and I got it. And folks, there's 16 different designs you can choose. I got mine in a cool little heart with the stars in there, but there's 16 different designs, 3 sizes, and 6 framing options. I did get mine framed. My wife has it hung up in the bedroom, and I'll probably get another one at some point because we got married on the anniversary of our first date. And so I'll probably do something of get the stars from our wedding day as well. If you get an unframed print, you get free shipping on it. And that isn't just the United States, folks. That's all over the globe. So you folks listening out in the UK and elsewhere, you can get free shipping on it as well. It's the original star map company. They're the only one verified by NASA astronomers, and you can find them at underluckystars.com. And let me find my right page. Here we go. All right. And so the next thing that we're going to cover is a couple of those deaths that I was talking about. Let me just check chat real quick. Nope, nothing there. Billy Graham. Billy Graham, you go to Reddit, you look up Mandela effect and Billy Graham, and you'll get an eyeful because he's apparently died numerous times. I do remember him dying multiple times. Now it looks like it's finally stuck. He died this last time, and it looks like it's stuck. If he comes back this time, I'm going to be shocked. But, people, again, like Nelson Mandela, they remember a large funeral. They remember people, dignitaries and politicians going to it. And then all of a sudden, either he was alive and said something in the news, or he was dead again. And I think I would have to just cull through Reddit to see how many times people remember him dying, because I think he holds the cup for dying the most. And as of this writing, or as of this show, like I said, he's currently still buried, and hopefully this last one, God bless him, hopefully this last one finally took hold, because zombies is not a cool thing that I want to see. Now here's one. I'm surprised I ain't seen my brother chime in yet, because he likes watching these shows. But this is a big one for him. He is an auto technician, quote unquote mechanic. And this one really drew him in. At first, he thought I was crazy when I talk about the Mandela effect. He was like, dude, you're nuts. But then this one got him. And then so now he takes everything with a grain of salt. He doesn't just blow me off. And that is the little print at the bottom of your passenger side mirror. What does it say? Something about objects being closer. What does it say? Just think about it for a second. And then, hello, Amy. The real thing is that it says what I remember. I don't know about y'all, but I spent hours in the passenger side seat of my mama's car. And I remember looking at that mirror and making jokes about the little sticker because what I remember it saying is objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear. And that's what my brother remembers. And like I said, he's seen countless cars. Well, it has never said that. It says objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Where did all of us get the maybe from? I don't get it. That's another very strong one for me, and like I said, for my brother. And it goes on and on. Like I said, we're not going to get into all the Mandela effects. I just wanted to name off some of the examples. There's a few more that I want to touch on, such as history type events. Hitler never had blue eyes. How about that? I know a lot of you were told Hitler had blue eyes, and that's why he could say that he was Aryan. But no, you go and look now, he's only ever had brown eyes. Another big one for me is the Lindbergh baby. What do even a Simpsons episode talked about, Grandpa Simpson said, I admit it, I'm the Lindbergh baby. How is that remotely funny? Because the Lindbergh baby was not only found dead, of course, but a man was executed for the kidnapping and death of the Lindbergh baby. There's no Lindbergh baby mystery, other than the fact that some people have said, well, it might not have been Hofland or whatever his name was, but it's not a mystery. The baby was found, the dead, and confirmed that was the baby. It was just right by the house too. Al Capone. What do you remember about his death? We all know he ended up going to jail for tax fraud or tax evasion. But what about his death? If you're like me, you remember him dying in Alcatraz. It's not the case. He was actually released on a compassionate release, went to his home in Florida, was nuts from syphilis apparently, which I remember that. I remember he went nuts in Alcatraz, and supposedly his ghost even still haunts that area. But he died at home. He died at home surrounded by family. One that I've talked about several times on this show, the Tiananmen Square fiasco in China in 1989. Every year it comes up. China tries to squash any kind of talk about Tiananmen Square. But if you're like me, you remember an individual known as Tank Man going out in front of people, in front of the tanks, and at one point he laid down and they just ran over him, squished him like a freaking bug. Saw it on TV, live with my own eyes, and now they're telling me I am wrong because it never happened. There's actually footage of Tank Man standing in front of him, climbing up on the tank, but then as he gets back down in front of it, a friend comes over, grabs him, and takes him off. And so he is never injured, he's not squished, and he walks away completely unscathed. And all of those examples, folks, are just the tip of a very large iceberg. It's not even the tip of the tip. It's like a tiny little portion of it. Popular companies that we grew up with are not what we remember. Kit Kat. It's never had a dash in its name. The department store has always been J.C. Penney, P-E-N-N-E-Y, and not pennies, P-E-N-N-Y-S. It's always been Procter and Gamble, P-R-O-C-T-E-R, not P-R-O-C-T-O-R, which is what I remember. And really and truly, folks, I could do many shows and write an entire book of the reported changes that are attributed to the Mandela effect. Because keep in mind, there are thousands, if not millions, of people that remember things incorrectly these days. I've done multiple shows on it. I did one not too long ago. It's got quite a few views about just the Mandela effect and Bible changes. But anyway, enough of the examples. Like I just said, I've done articles, I've done shows about the various types or the various Mandela effects, or the ones that are affected. But I want to move into the investigation of what it is. What is the Mandela effect, or what's causing it? And the kicker for me is that most folks, when it comes to the Mandela effect, they remember things the same. Take my glasses off. It bugs the hell out of me to see that reflection of my computer in the glasses. But they generally remember things exactly the same way. People from all walks of life and of varying ages not only misremember something, but share almost the exact same alternate memory. It's not like there's 500 different memories of Kit Kat, or 500 different memories of Louis Anderson, in different movies or different shows, or dying a different way. It is, he died. Most of the time, the reasons are the same, but the big thing is a lot of people do remember the Family Feud curse, because several of the hosts had died at that time. Now you don't even see shit about the Family Feud curse. But as I said earlier, I could write an entire book on the reported changes. And as a nod to Nelson Mandela's birthday today, at least according to current history, and it was actually a year ago that I started this investigation, or this planning for this show, this article. It was on the 30th anniversary of his release from prison last year. But as we go along, we will discuss the possibility of it just being all memory issues, but we're really going to take a hard look at simulation hypotheses, the possibility that the multiverse does exist, time travel, and maybe even the possibility that CERN is involved in the whole thing. Now, if you really want to know the answer to what the Mandela effect is, I can't help you. I can't. I don't know. But what I can do is attempt to explain this in a way I don't think has been done yet. And so first, like I said, everywhere you turn, anywhere you look, they try telling you that it's all false memory. It's all in your head. And many people firmly believe that. They will swear up and down that you are wrong and that you are just misremembering everything that you think is different. And for whatever reason, false memory seems to be the mainstream definition of the effect. And I have to admit that this theory does seem to explain a lot of the reported changes. Double, however, I don't think it can explain them all. When you first start looking for answers about the effect, like I said, one of the first pages you'll come across is the wiki that immediately defines it as false memory. But then the page goes into citing experiments and using examples that, in my opinion, couldn't possibly be related to the Mandela effect. In fact, well, like I said earlier, when you search the Mandela effect, or what is the Mandela effect, the first 1/4 of the page talks about adverbs and how asking a question a certain way or omitting specific words can alter the person's answer in memory. Wait, that's the first 1/4 page of the wiki, not the first 1/4 page of the results. The first 1/4 page of the results says that it's all memory issues. But like I said, altering the way that you ask a question is not related to the effect at all, because 9 times out of 10, folks that are affected form their questions in a way that it can't possibly influence the person's answer. When I approach my wife of something new, or when she approaches me, how we ask is, what is this? What is this slogan? What is this logo? What is this show? What is this person alive or dead? And most always we have the same memories. My wife has gotten a little bit gun shy when I'll ask her something, because she'll go, okay, well, this is the way I remember it. What is it now? And I'll always come back with, yep, that's the way I remember it too, but it's never been that way. It is now, blah, blah, blah. And we've had that multiple times. Oh, crap. And I ran over my cord. I don't want to break it. Anyway. Okay, well, hopefully we got a good enough charge for the rest of the show, because that just almost went bad. Is everyone simply remembering everything incorrectly? How can that be? And especially, like I said earlier, of it always being the exact same. You know, you can do that. I forget what they call it, but you can sit there and get a line of people, 5, 6, 10 people, and you start out whispering something in the first person's ear, and they have to turn around and whisper it to the next one, and they have to whisper it, and so on down the line. And by the time you get to the end, it's usually nothing like what it was, but what the original was. It gets turned around because people put in their own words. They just change things, and maybe that is a reason for the Mandela effect on some of them. But why isn't there people that remember Ford as, Fjord, Fjord, or how come Arby's was never Ardy's, Ardys? How come there's not, these off the wall ones that are incorrect? You don't have 1 or 2 people remembering Rice Krispies as Krispies, Crispies. No, you always have these large groups. And that's my issue with the whole false memory claim. If I grow up in Texas with Southern Baptist parents, and a woman grows up in Utah with Mormon upbringing, and there's no way in hell we should both misremember Stouffer stovetop stuffing. There's just no way. It shouldn't happen. A neighbor of mine, maybe, but hundreds of people across the world with varying factors influencing their lives and memories, I call bullshit. I call complete bullshit. There's no way that people from all different walks of lives and all different influences remember things exactly the same. That person from Utah with Mormon upbringing, we shouldn't have the same damn memory of Stouffer's. There's just no way around it. Now, another thing that can happen, and I do think this is a reason for some, or possibly a reason for some of the Mandela effects, and that's confabulation. Now, this is a word that many skeptics love to throw up. Oh, you confabulated it. It was coined only 120 years ago. This word just came about 20 years ago, or 120 years ago, by German psychiatrist Karl Bonhoeffer. And he used it to describe false answers, or ones that sound completely made up or fantastical. But the use of it goes a lot deeper than that these days. It's not simply making up answers. Confabulation isn't a disorder. It's a symptom of various underlying memory disorders in which any gaps in memory are filled in with false information. That's the gist of it these days. In other words, you confabulate 2 things together. And again, that could be useful in explaining some of the Mandela effect, but not all of them. And the powers that be are still working to define confabulation, but the gist of it is, those suffering from confabulation have memory loss that actually affects their higher reasoning. So in other words, they're saying that we're screwed in the head if we believe in the Mandela effect, or that subconsciously we create these false memories as a way to conceal our memory loss. And we're not even aware that we're not telling the truth. In fact, supposedly we're 100% convinced that what we're saying is the unequivocal truth, no matter what those around them may say to the contrary. Okay, I do admit that that does sound a bit like those of us that have experienced the effect. But let's take a look at what they speculate causes confabulation. According to Healthline, conditions that cause these symptoms are schizophrenia, traumatic brain loss, Alzheimer's, dementia, split brain syndrome, oh hell, guys, a deficit of self-awareness. I don't know. I can't pronounce the word. I'm screwed. I can never pronounce those words. And then there's a couple of harsh-sounding syndromes like Anton syndrome, the denial of blindness, Capgras syndrome, the belief that a loved one has been replaced by an imposter. Talk about a glitch in the matrix. And Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, aka WKS, and which is exaggerated storytelling, and it's believed to be caused by chronic alcohol misuse. Well, but does that mean that everyone, according to this confabulation, does that mean that everyone that has experienced the issue has one of the undiagnosed, one of those aforementioned mental issues? That's preposterous. How the hell can we all, thousands of people, have undiagnosed brain issues like schizophrenia? Even if we take traumatic head injuries out of the equation, just look at the filling in the blanks aspect of confabulation. It doesn't add up with the effect. Millions of minds just added in a cornucopia for the Fruit of the Loom logo because it didn't make sense for fruit to be on our drawers without something we didn't even know the name of. I mean, I know I see it on Reddit where a lot of people, that's where they found out what the frig a cornucopia was, from their underwear, from the Fruit of the Loom. But now, we confabulated. We're all sick in the head and we made that up. We all just added braces to Dolly and Moonraker because we just think we're better writers than those that churned out the screenplay. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, or that one's new to you, that one is mind-blowing. It's the 007 movie Moonraker, where Jaws smiles at Dolly and Dolly smiles back. Whoa. Millions of people, or thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever, remember that Dolly had braces as well, but she doesn't, never did. Now, I'll concede the fact that some celebrity multiple deaths could be attributed to some minor confabulation. We don't see them in the news for quite some time, and we assume they're dead. Maybe we confuse them for the death of someone near their age or from the same show or movie. But I don't think that can be used for them all, especially the likes of Billy Graham. And I damn sure know that Louis Anderson was dead in my original timeline because he freaking was part of the Family Feud curse. But when you get to the portion of the False Memory Wiki article that actually discusses the effect, it simply uses its own definition of confabulation to try to explain the non-existent Shazam movie. Quote unquote, here we go. It's the false memories of Shazam have been explained as a confabulation of memories of the comedian Sinbad wearing a genie-like costume during a TV presentation of Sinbad the Sailor movies in 1994 and the similarly named 1996 film Kazam featuring a genie played by Shaquille O'Neal. Oh, okay. So we all saw some show of him wearing a genie outfit and not only placed him in a movie as a genie, but all of our minds named it with the same unique spelling. We all named it the same, remembered it the same. That's amazing, isn't it? All of our minds are so screwed, we thought of the same damn movie title for a movie that never existed. So this definition of confabulation is that we somehow take two things, mesh them together, and then conveniently fill in the blanks, all with the exact same details, though. Yeah, that sounds plausible. I roll. Now, don't get me wrong. I do, like I said earlier, I do think confabulation does explain some. Now, it may not explain it for you, but like Jiffy peanut butter, I remember it. I still have memories of it. But I have scratched it off as a definitive Mandela effect for several reasons because of Choosy Mom Choose Jif. I remember that commercial. We had Jiffy Pop popcorn, Jiffy cornbread, Jiffy lube. We had all these Jiffies around when I was growing up, and I could think that I confabulated Jif peanut butter with all of those others. So I've scratched that off, even though I remember Jiffy peanut butter, and we'll still call it Jiffy to this day at times. And I'm not saying that that's what caused yours, or your memory of it, but I think that's what caused it for me and my brother. He admitted it too, that could be it. Now, I want to take a second to say, to cover one section here or one area, and that's, they think that we're all drug addicts. Some people think we're all drug addicts. They're not drug addicts per se, but potheads. They say that the blunt made us do it. We're stoned all the time. Granted, that might be true for me. I may not be stoned all the time, but I do smoke my fair share. But I wanted to cover this because a report from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America on February of last year, they stated that just one joint can cause false memory. One joint. And they went all 21st century and used virtual reality to really mess with the stoned participants. Damn, I can't talk tonight. And it looks like they actually had some interesting results. They implemented a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial in order to examine the susceptibility to false memories under the influence of cannabis, and using a basic DRM and two applied misinformation paradigms. And I forgot to get what DRM meant. You can read the whole study at, we'll have to put this in the comments section because it's pnas.org and then a whole bunch of slashes and numbers. But you can read it there. But they found that cannabis consistently increases susceptibility to false memories. All right, they could get me there. If they could prove it, if they could prove that all of us are pot smokers. But the thing is that a lot of us, and I mean a lot, have ran surveys trying to zero in on if there are consistencies across the board that we all have in common. And smoking pot is not one of them. Never did it come up as even one of the top ones that everybody that experiences the Mandela effect smokes weed. It's just not it's not a common factor. I do. I do for pain. I know a lot of other people that do for pain. But not every affected witness has partaken in a little inhalation of some wacky tobacco. But if we suspend disbelief and say that everybody has toked up at least once, would that explain how they all came up with the exact same false memory? Is weed really that good? It can make us all come up with the exact same memory, wrong memory? I don't think so, Tim. But let's see here. I think this is probably a good spot to pause because I do have another section that I want to cover, but I really wanted to get into this part first. I'm just kind of setting the groundwork for those that haven't been here. There's a lot more stuff to cover, guys. We have got playing with your memory. Let's see here. We've got simulation hypotheses / simulation theory and the simulation argument. I'm going to cover the double slit experiment to see if could we really be living in a simulation. And then we're going to talk about CERN and time travel. And then we've got, we had several other sections, but I don't have my notes on them. But we're going to cover quite a bit of what is the Mandela effect or what could be causing it. I can't believe I've already talked for almost an hour. I appreciate everybody tuning in on the YouTube channel and chiming in. This will be up on the podcast in a day or two, but just make sure that you tune in, folks. I am back. I'm going to talk with Meredith, the producer, and see if we want to stick with Wednesday nights. I know there's a bit of competition on YouTube with some of our friends that are on Wednesday nights. So I may switch Geeky, Cheeky, and Downright Freaky to another night. But I appreciate y'all tuning in on this spur-of-the-moment kind of show on a Sunday evening. I hope you all are having a great time, enjoying your weekend. Don't forget to visit GeekInsider.com. They're the reason that this show is able to go on. And you want to visit there because we've got all kinds of shows going on, articles over there. And we're going to have some contests coming up soon. I keep saying that. If you watch the show, I've said, oh, this is coming, that's coming. But it really is coming. I got a stack of swag over here that I am just itching to give to some of you folks. So y'all watch for that. Yep, Meredith, you have a great night too. Thanks so much. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Not sure what day of the week. Let me talk with Meredith to figure it out. But y'all have a great rest of have a great week. I know Monday's coming tomorrow. Let's not have a case of the Mondays. Y'all have a great week.
To all my lonely people still falling from a tree, to all my broken lovers still learning how to breathe, y'all need someone to sing with. Yeah, you can sing with me. Can I get an amen? Amen. You never know what they don't dance. Take me to your leader, baby. Yeah, don't worry about me, mother. Don't worry about me, brother.